We're on Pei Vav Amara, by the two dots near the bottom. So we said in the Mishnah, a little bit of Gemara before we resume the Agata, Kol K'midig HaMedina. We said in the Mishnah that the benefits available to Payalim depends on the Midig HaMedina. Hakol Asuya Mai, what is it coming to include? Asuya Basur Dinigi Mikrach Riftu Mishta Anpaka, a place where they give a piece of bread and this fancy drink, Anpaka. The Amalu Kadim of Aisiluchu, if the owner says to the worker, listen, it's early in the morning, get started to work, and I'll bring you your breakfast a little bit later. Amalei love kol kaminach. The worker can say, I have the union on my side. You have to provide me breakfast before I start working. Not one bit of work is going to get done until I get my breakfast. Two lines from the bottom on Pevav Amrab. Right, the Mishnah had said the din that a kol committed gamadina, and then we said there was a story. Rabbi Yochanan Masi got his son to go hire Payalim, and he told them, "I'm going to provide you so this." Rabbi Yochanan Masi reacted with horror. This is terrible because everyone deserves grace suda every yid. What is it called? Every yid's a big tzaddik. Every yid is entitled to the kesuda shlema b'shaita. In fact, the Mar Maisa lister doesn't make sense. First, we say hakol k'minik hamadina. Then we bring a Maisa that we don't do k'minik hamadina. So it's true that you do k'minik hamadina, but if they make a separate deal to add on to what the worker's entitled to, then certainly you're going to follow the deal. This is, and then we repeat the story of the Mishnah. He told his son to go hire workers. He hired them and he told them he's going to give food. Even you give them like a suda of shleima, you're not yetzi yechayva. Shemrei Avram Yitzchak Yaakov. They're like Avram, children of Avram Yitzchak Yaakov. How could it be? We're saying that being a son of Avram entitles you to a bigger suda than that of Yaakov. The amount of bread that was used for shleima for one day, 30 core of fine flour, v'shishim kor kamach, and 60 korim of coarse flour, asara baka briim, 10 fat oxen, vasara baka roi, and 10 free-ranging oxen, umeyat sign, and 100 sheep levad me'ayel utzvi v'yachmar, in addition to the rams and the deer and the yachmar. I don't know what yachmar is. Babura mavusim. And babura mavusim, I was going to explain, babura mavusim is a certain kind of chicken. For he says that all this food that we just mentioned, all these animals and bread, was all just for the butchers to have what to eat. It means this wasn't even the real meal. This was just the food for the workers who were preparing the meal. Yitzchak says no, it's just like either a spice that they put into the actual meal, or also something they put on top of the pot to absorb the overflow. And Shlomo had Hamelech had 100 wives, and each one made this meal in their own house. My timer, why was it? Zusur Shema Etzli Sayed Hayem. Zusur Shema Etzli Sayed Hayem. Each one said maybe he's going to eat by me today. Avram ran to the bakar, and he took one bakar, soft and good. So Hasam Tlasa Tretru. I'm sorry. So you see that it was only three oxen as opposed to all the hundreds of thousands that seem to be indicated by the description of Shlomo Suda. So Gemara Hasam Tlasa Tura Tlasa Gabri. Over there, it was by Avram it was 3 bakar for 3 people. It was 1 bakar per person. Hacha l'chol Yisrael Yehuda. But Shlomo Melech Suda was for the Gans Klal Yisrael. Shneimar Yehuda v'Yisrael Rabin Kachal Asher Al Sasayam. That Yehuda and Yisrael, the amount of people was as great as the amount of sand on the beach. So that's how much he had to provide. So even though it was large amounts, it was spread out a lot of people. My baburim avusim. What are these chickens avusim? Amaravsha oisim oisim bal karcham. They were force fed, like the way they make a liver pate. If you ever, there was a time they were doing this in, they were selling, um, what is it called? Is it called liver pate? No, it's called something else. Foie gras, right? The way they force feed the chickens or ducks or geese till their livers get over extended. So that's what they would do to these chickens. No, it means that they eat however much they want. Rabbi Yochanan says they bring a what do you call it? An ox from its pasture. But with loy honest, it didn't do any work, so it's very fat. Tanagolis mash basa, but loy anisa. And Tanagolis, it doesn't have to give birth. It's not doesn't lay eggs, and it gets very fat like that. Amr Rabbi Yochanan, mubcha shebahem is shor. A shor is the best meat, rib steak. Mubcha shebaoif is Tanagolis, and the best oif to eat is a chicken. Amr Amema, zagso uchmosa. The kind of chicken that they had was a zagso, was a chicken uchmasa that was black, beibat nisa with a big belly, the mishtach beni atri that eats, it hangs around by the storehouses and eats what's left over. Metzia pashikana. It's not able to jump over even a stick. It's so fat that it's unable to move at all. So we continue now with a long analysis of the psukim about Avram Avinu. Avram ran to the bakar. Amr Yehuda Amrav ben bakar echad rach shnayim v'toiv shlosh. Like we said before, it means that there were 3 bakar. Ve'em chad to the Amri inchi rachach v'tov. Maybe it means it was 1 animal, but it was soft and good. And why do we say rach v'toiv is the second and the third? And came lichter rach toiv my v'toiv. What is the vav? Shramin l'drasha. So maybe v'toiv would just say 1 drasha, it's 1 extra, so there's only 2 bakar. So come on, but the toiv l'drasha rach nami l'drasha. Masiv Rabba Bar Ula, Vitem Rav Hoshia, Vitem Rav Nasib Rav Hoshia, Vitem al Nar ve'Yimala Sasoy. It says he gave it to the Nar, and Nar is Eliezer, and he went quickly to prepare the bakar. Oisay is the lashon yachid. So how could you say it's 3? It says oisay. So tomorrow kol chad v'chad yavia l'nar chad. He said no. What it means is each one of the bakar he gave to a different Nar. So it was really 3. He took butter and milk, and the bakar that he prepared, he gave it to them. But it says ben habakar, the ben habakar, it's only 1. The kamakama the Metzia asilakame. What it means is as each one was ready, he would bring it to them. The lamali tlasa tiski bechad. It's only 3 people, as we know. 1 bakar is more than enough for 1 person. Why do you need so much? What did it help to have more? In order to, he wanted to give each one their own tongue, which to me it seems even that is excessive. Even 1 person can't eat a whole tongue. Amriv tanchum b'chaniloi. Why don't you always do the minig of Hamakam? When Moshe went up to the Shemayim to be Mekabel the Torah, he didn't eat that whole time. He didn't eat any bread. Malach Yeshos yadu lamata. When the Malach Yeshos come down, when they came to Avram, these 3 Anoshim were Malachim, and they ate. Do you really think that they ate? They made themselves appear as if they ate and drank. Obviously, they weren't able to eat. That's not what they do. But in order to be yaitza that you're supposed to do community gamadina, they made themselves appear as if they ate. Atzmai, also Kosh Baruch Hu ba'atzmai. Whatever Avram Avinu himself did with his own hand, Baruch Shalom paid back by doing similarly to his children at the time of Yetzias Mitzrayim. And also, whatever Avram did with the shliach, the Baruch Shalom repaid by doing with the shliach. We're going to give examples. Well, Avram himself ran to get the baka of Ruach Nasa Meis Hashem v'yikach chema of Ruach Nasa Meis Hashem. It says that a ruach came from Hashem to what was that for? Was that pasuk? Hey, Ruach Nasa Meis Hashem v'yigosh shalva min hayam yitzhal machna kederch yom kederch yom. The Baruch Shalom brought the shlav for the yin to eat. He brought it with himself. And it says that Avram Avinu bought the butter and the milk, and the Baruch himself will bring lechem in Hashemayim, the mud. Avram stood over them underneath the tree. The Baruch stood over the Yidden by the sword to bring the water. And Avram sent them away. The Baruch stood in front of the Yidden, went in front of the Yidden every day. Yukach namat mayim. It says he told them to take a little bit of water. So that means that he said he sent someone else. That someone else yukach is a passive lashon. It should be taken some water. In response to that, the Baruch Shalom allowed the rock to be hit to provide water, and he didn't provide it directly. This is not like Rav Chana bar Chanina. Rav Chana bar Chanina b'cheitan debei Rabbi Shmuel b'schar shloishes dachul l'shloishim b'schar chama b'chalav zachul l'man b'schar v'oimen aleim zachul amada anan. We said hini oimen levanecha shamal atzur instead of Amad ha'anan. So he dashes differently what the who Ayman Aleim was Zeichen. But then he continues, B'schar Yugach Namat Mayim Zachul L'Be'er Shel Miriam. And because of that, which they took Mat Mayim, they were Zeicha to the bear of Miriam. I guess that's also different. I guess we didn't say, did we say about the bear Shel Miriam? No. Yugach namat mayim v'rachzu raglechem. Amar Rav Yana Rav Yishmael Amar Lev Chibar Bayim Chashtad Tanu Mehem Shehem Mishtachon Lavak Raglehem. So they said back to him when he said that you should wash your feet, which was something that they did to wash away the dust of Avodah Zarah. The Malachim said back to him, you think we're Arabs that bow down to the dust of their feet? They said to him, you already have Yishmael who came out of you. You should realize that you have your own problems. These all very similar. There's all the Rashi's and Chumash. What does it mean when the day was hot? It was the third day of the Milah when he was most vulnerable. Baruch went to check on Avram. He made the sun come out of its cover, made it very hot, so that Archim shouldn't be about. He sent out Eliezer to go outside to see if there are any Archim. He didn't find any. Avram said, I don't believe you. I think you're just protecting me by claiming that there are no Archim. That's what we say, that you can't trust an act. Avram didn't trust Eliezer. The koya Bava. So Avram came out and he found the Baruch Shalom standing there. Avram said to him, you shouldn't pass away, shouldn't go away. Even the chazak since the Baruch Shalom saw that Avram was in pain, he was taking care of his wound from the Milah. It's not proper to stay here when you're in pain, that you should attend to me. And similarly, the Rebbe Shem left and he sent three anoshim she should have. He saw Avram was being mitzvah for not having orchim, so he sent three anoshim. A Yar to cross them, and Avram went and ran to them. Mikara asu. Kamula, when he at the beginning they were standing and waiting. Kichazisu the Havalei Tzaira, when they saw that he was in pain, Amalei Lavar Chayla make him hacha. It's not proper to stand there, and they went in with him. Maninu shloisha anoshim. Who are these three anoshim? Michal, Gavia, V'Rafal. The three malachim. Michal shabal levaser Sarah. Michal's job was to tell Sarah that she was going to have a child. Rafal shabal lerapes Avram. Rafal was coming to kill Avram. Gavriel azal amahaptel stein. Gavriel's job was to overturn stein. In fact, the Marvak Siv by Yavayu Shnei Malachim Steima. You said that it was only Gavriel's job to destroy Sodom, but it says that two malachim came to Stein, the Erev. The Azak Gemara, the Azak Michal Bade. Michal came along with Gavriel. What was his job? After he finished being Levaser Sarah, he went L'Shazbe L'Loit. He came to save light. They cannot be it says that only Gavriel, even though it said there were two people, only one of them turned over Sidon. So that was Gavriel, and Michal was left to his job of saving life. Shmamina. When Avram said that he wanted the Archim to come in, they said, "We'll do as you say." That they resisted him a lot. They didn't meet the Archim. The Malachim did not immediately come into him. That when a Gadol tells you to do something, you do it right away, but a cotton, you can resist. It says that Avram said he's going to get some bread. Avram ran to the cows. He said he's just going to bring bread, and then he brought them a whole fleishig meal. Because you say a little and you do a lot. You're under promise and over deliver. But Rishonim are the other way around. They don't even do what they say they're going to do. Meanwhile, where do we see this? Ephraim. We see it from Ephraim. Eretz Abramei Shekel Kesef. At the beginning, he said that the whole pasuk is he said to Avram, what's the difference? 400, a little bit of land that's worth 400. It's not a big deal. Go ahead and bury your dead. And in the end, Avram heard what Ephraim was really saying, and he gave him a silver, the amount that he said that they had discussed, which was 400 shekel kesef oivel asoicher, the best quality. Lo shekel minei ela country, that he didn't. Not only did he take the full 400 kesef, he took only from the country, which is the best kind of coins. Tikadukta the karile, the tikla country. There's some places that they call a shekel, a kantira. That's because that's such a classic type of coin. Siv kemach or siv soiles. The pasuk says in one place it says kemach, and one place which is a coarse flour. Siv soiles, and it says a fine flour. Sarah had said kemach. Sarah's right. Sarah had said kemach, which is not as good. Avram said soiles. He provided a higher quality bread. Siv lushi vasi ugois. Avram told her to make the flour into bread. When it came time to feed them, there's no mention of the bread that had been prepared. Avram Avinu was makbid to only eat, even chulin, he only ate b'taira. Sarah, as she was working on the bread, she became a nida and therefore became tummy, and therefore he wouldn't eat it. This pasuk was the pasuk. Yomer Elov Ayei Sarah Ishtech Vayomer Hine Ba'il. Vayomer Hine Ba'il. L'Hadiah Sheshara Yimenu Tznua Hoysa. It's going to tell you they asked where she was, and she was a Tznua. She was in the back. Amar Yehuda Amaravi Tem Rav Yitzchak. Yoidim Hayu Malachi Asher Sheshara Yimenu Ba'il Hoysa. Why do they have to ask this? Alamai Ba'il Kedei L'Chava Al Ba'ilo. They were trying to emphasize what a Tznua she was, that they asked him so that he would respond, she's in the oil, and he would remember that she's a Tznua. They wanted to send her to Kaishal Bracha. Tan Mishra Rabbi Yosi Lama Naked Al Ayah Sheba Olav. And he said, Elov, in the pasuk Elov, there's Nakudis on the word on the letters Aleph Yud and Vav. Lim the Torah Derech Eretz. Adam Sheyishal Adam Bachsan Yishal. You should say Ayah. The Yomer Elov, that you should say Ayah, that it's the proper thing to say, where is she? Person should ask, inquire about the welfare of his family. One should not ask about another Isha, right? This is the rule that's against social media. That's the problem with social media, right? They say texting. One should not, it's not proper to ask about it or how a woman is doing for a man to ask about it. Al Yedei Baila Shani. So no, it's different if you ask a man about his wife. That's a pleasantry. That's courteous. The pasuk continues. Achra Baloisia Hoiseli Edna. Sarah Imenu, when the Rebbeinu Shalom said she's going to have a child, she said, after I stopped my becoming a nida, I'm going to still have a period to be able to have children. Amar Chizda. After the flesh, the basar of a woman became withered, Rabbi Hakatman, and she got wrinkled. It's Adana basar. It's going to become thick or moist. This pashtu atamim, and the wrinkles are going to go away. But chazver hayofi, and the beauty returned. So that's what Taka would happen. That when Sarah Mena was told, she said, "My husband is old," and then when Rabban Shalom repeated it to Avram, what Sarah had said, he said over that Sarah had said, "V'ani zakanti," and I am old. The Rabban Shalom did not repeat over to Avram what she had said, because God Tana de Beir Bishmal, God Hashem Zavish Baruch Shina Boy. That the Rebbeinu Shalom was Mishana, what she said because of Shalom. And she said, how can I have children? And my husband is old. That she, the Rebbeinu Shalom said that she said, and I am. Who caused the child to be brought to Avram and provided children to Sarah? Kam bottom and Nika Sarah. Sarah was manic, she nursed many children. Amr Levi, Gamel Avram es Yitzchak Benai, on the day that Avram weaned Yitzchak, also Sudas Gedoyla. He made a great Suda. Hayu Kol Umas Ha'olam Miranim, all the Sudas, all the Umas Ha'olam, all partying, they were all making fun. You see, there's an elderly man and an elderly woman that they took a foundling from the marketplace. They claim it's their children, but it's ridiculous. And not only that, they make a big suda to celebrate this. Ma asa Avram Avinu. What did Avram Avinu do? He took all the Gedolei Hadar. The Sarah menu Zimnes Nishasem, and Sarah called the woman. They all brought their children, but they didn't bring their nursemaids. There was a nace done with Sarah menu. Her two breasts opened up. She was able to nurse from like two springs. And she nursed all of them. And they would still make fun and say, Sarah Habas Tishim Shana Taylor. Listen, so you proved to us that she gave birth. Avram b'meya shana yoylid. Is it possible that Avram is the father? Miyad nepach chles tapanim shel Yisro nidul Avram. the face of Yitzchak changed and became similar to Avram. Paschal Kulam v'Yamru. They all started to say, Avram Hailad as Yitzchak. Avram gave birth to Yitzchak because you see that he has the same facial features. Ad Avram lehaya zikna. Before Avram, there was no aging. Manda have a boy
Even though we said that Sarah did age.
I'm sorry?
Even though we said that Sarah did age.
That's a good point. I guess that's by woman. I guess that those physical
Those weren't her face,
they
right?
made it ability to be childbearing changed.
What?
You're right.
Because I was wondering if what was going on. Like Sarah became young looking, and Avram just stayed the same. I was wondering. So I was like, all right, so it's fine for a man to have a younger looking wife because they both.
No, I'm saying maybe it's just those things that had to do with childbearing. Those that went away.
Wrinkles, her skin had Nispala Habasa, Verabu Hakmatim.
That's talking about skin related to childbearing, not necessarily her face or obvious signs of aging.
He said wrinkles. I mean, I hear where Lucy's coming from. Right? It's talking about wrinkles. What does it have to do with childbearing directly? And you think that's what makes someone look old? So, in any case, I don't know the answer. I certainly don't know the answer to this. Manda have a boy. Since they had the same, they looked the same, and there was no aging, people would mix them up. Avram asked for Rachmanis, and he looked different as he became old. Maybe it just means, maybe Zaken means only becoming white. Maybe it becomes only white here. That's all it's referring to. I don't know. Because Zaken, also Ziknus refers specifically to the beard, right? We said before, Zaken is often referred to that way. Ad Yaakov have a chulsha. Before Yaakov, people didn't get sick before they died. Also, Yaakov bar Rachman. Yaakov said it's not good when people should all of a sudden expire. Their expiration date should come and they fall down. It's a terrible thing. People need time to prepare. Have a chulsha. Because there should be illness before when a person gets old. Shenema, the Emil Yosef, hine avicha choyle. Ad asa Elisha lehava cholish v'atpach. Before Elisha, no one ever got sick and then got cured. Also, Elisha boy rachmi. He said that he asked for Rahmanas, that it shouldn't be a final sentence. It's a terrible thing. If every illness is terminal, when a person gets sick when they're old, they know that's the end, they lose all hope. So as long as there's a chance they could be healed, they'll still have hope. So the Marshal, he asked for Rahmanas and he got healed. That Elisha got sick with the illness that he would die from. You see that he had other chaylim that he did recover from. And we know the 3 times that he got sick. One was the mistake. He had a Talmud Gechazi who made a mistake that he took something from someone who had offered a gift without Elisha's permission. Elisha was very angry and he pushed him away with Shtu Yadayim. And the rule always is with the Talmud, you should be deicha with one yad and be makar with the other yad. So therefore, Elisha got sick. The echad shegira dubin v'dinoikus. One were these children who were tormenting him, and he sent a bear that killed 42 of them. It's brought in the Gemara. And the final chayli was the one that he was nifta from. So we continued in the Mishnah. He said, that the father instructed his son who had offered to give mezainis to the pilim, and he said, then you're going to be mechuyev to give them kasuda shlema b'shaita. It's not, that's not going to be enough. So you should change before they start working. Change the terms of the deal and say it's only going to be pas v'kitnis. Amar Ravacha brei de Rav Yosef l'Rav Chizda. Pas katnis tnan or pas v'katnis tnan. Does it mean bread of beans using bean bread? What does it mean? Passed together with beans. Amalei halekim trichavav ki morde delibris. You need you absolutely need that vav the same way that when the boatmen push their boat with a long vav, with a long stick, you need a vav that's as long as that stick, meaning that you really need that vav. Of course, you don't give them bean bread. That's a horrible food, and you can't. No one wants that. Gamliel says you don't need all these different explanations. Everything goes according to the minig hamadina. What is he coming to include when he says hakol minig hamadina? That means we're talking over here about that payalim get kafiyim minig hamadina. What is it in addition to payalim that goes to minig hamadina? Someone who said, I'm going to pay you, either I'm going to pay you like the way every pile gets, or double what every pile gets. Yeshua says, you give him what he means to say is it's a Metzia mechaver oliver. Yeah, so when he says, I'm going to pay you like a pile in the city, he means whatever the cheapest pile is. You make a compromise, you split it, you split the difference. If it was more, you give more. If either you do the average or you take a kafi, a middle course of how much people get paid. Okay, let's do a little bit of the Mishnah now. We'll see how far we can get. These are allowed to eat. There's a Xeris HaKasav that someone who's working is allowed to eat. We have a din of Lesachshim Shar B'dishay. There's an equivalent din by a worker that as he's working, and it's specifically as he's picking Paris. I'm going to say it doesn't apply. It's not on everything. It's not a factory worker can take widgets as he's making them. But someone who's working in the fields, as we're going to see from Sukkim, is allowed to take and eat as he's working. This is who can eat in the Torah. Someone who's working on Paris, Ha'ilan, and Paris, basically fruit or produce from the fields, and Ebeshask Mamalacha, meaning at the time it's being picked. You can't, someone who's working to plow can't reach over and take from the tree, the apple tree that's there. Somebody who's working to prune, you can't take from stuff that's not ready to be picked. And once it's been cut, right, they would cut the wheat and then gather it up. The rule is, it's not that until it becomes, there's gemar malach, until you finish the processing of produce, it's not nigma legabe meiser, that you have to separate trumas and meisers. Now, before that time, you're allowed to take snacks without taking trumas and meiser. So the Mishnah is saying that happens to be the same point at which the right of the worker to take from the produce exists. So you can only take from produce until the time of the end of the processing of the produce will become subject to trumas and meisers. But it's two separate things. It's not because of the trumas and meisers. That happens to be the end of his rights. And with something that is grown from the ground. And these are those who can't eat. Someone who's working, like we said, while the produce is not ready to be picked. And after the time that it's nigma malach, that it becomes subject to trumas and meisers. And just in general, something which is not grown from the ground is not included in this head. Where does this come from? That when someone goes to work, let's see the whole pasuk. When you go into your friend's vineyard to work, you could eat the grapes up to till you're full. But the pasuk says you can't take it and put it into your kli. The worker can't collect it and put it in his knapsack for later. You can only take and eat as he's worth. Ashkelon Karam, so we find the vineyard called Mini Minal. And how do we know other types of fruit, other types of produce? Gamini Mikaram, Makaram Yucha Davish Kuduli Karka Bishas Gamal Malacha, Pale Eichel Boy. I've called Davish Kuduli Karka Bishas Gamal Malacha, Pale Eichel Boy. In fact, how could you learn that from Karam? Malakam Shechen Chai Bailis. Karam has a special din that you have incomplete clusters of grapes. You're allowed, Ani's allowed to take it. So maybe because it has this special heter, it also has a heter that the workers can eat it. Gamini Mikama. We learned it out from from grain. Kama gufa minalan. So how do you know kama that this heter applies to kama? This is the second pasuk. Kisava bekamas reyacha v'katafta malilas biyadecha, and you'll take clusters in your hand. V'chamish loitanich al kamas reyacha, and you shouldn't use your scythe to cut other on the produce of your friend. Malak, so up to Gemara. Malak kamash chayeves bechala. In fact, Gemara, how could you learn that from grain? Grain has an extra mitzvah that you have to separate challah. So how do we know that this will apply even to things that don't have challah? So Gemara, the high kama de mechayeves bechalahi. How do you know this kama? Kama means standing grain. Not all grain has a din of challah. Dilma kol kama kama. Kol kama kama, Rahman. Maybe it's talking about even kama, even grain. It's only the 5 million of grain that have a din challah. But for example, rice is a type of grain that doesn't have challah. Asher kama kama ksiv hachak yisave bekamer yachu ksiv hasam mehechel charmish bekama. Pasuk says Shiva Shavuos Tispalach Mehechel Chamish Bakama Taka Lispa Shiva Shavuos. It's talking about the barley of the grains that you're not allowed to eat until the Yomer. So it talks about, so it's talking about those grains. It's not talking about rice, and it says it's called to Kama. Mahasam Kama de Mechayeves B'Chala Afachanami Kama de Mechayeves B'Chala. So we say that this, when you use Xer Shav, I tell you this Chala also. This Kama is also talking about that's Mechayev B'Chala. So Ikal Mifach Malakama Shechayeves B'Chala Kerem Yechiach. So we have a kasha on learning out from Kama that maybe you can't learn out from there to other types of produce. So Kerem Yechiach, let's prove it from Kerem, which doesn't have a din Chala. Malakam Shechayev B'Oilis. Kama Techich B'Chazar Adim Lo Roizek Roizeh Hatzar Shava Shebehen. Shchein davar shegidule karka b'shas k'mamalacha payalecha by af kol davar shegidule karka b'shas k'mamalacha payalecha by. So we can learn out from between the two of them to tell you everything else, all types of pros. In fact, maybe kama, which is grain, and grapes, wine, are both things that are brought on the mizbeach. Also, now Zayis, this bit Tzad Mizbeach, and so I could also learn Zayis, because Zayis also has a Tzad Mizbeach. We bring Shemin on the Mizbeach by the Menachas. So I come over Zayis from that Tzad, I'll see. What do you need a Zayis? What do you need to learn out Zayis from a Metzia? He gufa Kerem Ikri. A Zayis is called Kerem. Yivar Migodesh Vad Kama Vad Kerem Zayis. Pasuk says that they destroyed from the stacks until the standing grain, until the kerem zayis, until the vineyards of oil, of olives. Amra papa kerem zayis ikri kerem stam aloy ikri. Says no. Pasuk of kerem would not include zayis because the only time you call zayis kerem is when it goes together. You say kerem zayis, but stam kerem doesn't include. Michal makom kasha. In any case, we got distracted with the zayis. But the problem is maybe
they need
I'm sorry?
No.
I got distracted from my phone. The pasuk says chermish, which is the sickle that's used to cut down the produce, anything that's harvested. It's coming to tell you only at the time of harvesting. We never said exactly where we saw this from. It's only at the time of it's only at the time that you're harvesting, but you can't eat earlier. So that learns out from the fact that we say Chermish, from the sickle. So the fact we say you can't put it into your kalim, that you're collecting, and it's talking about the time that you're collecting to harvest, because it's talking about putting into the kli. So it's saying you can't keep that which you put into your kli. That means during harvesting time. So Chermish is left over to tell you that not just kama and keren, but anything else. So that will only teach you things that are actually cut with a sickle. The laba chemish minole. What about fruits that are picked? They're not cut down with a scythe. When do you know that they're also included, that a worker can take them? When it says kama, it's coming to include anything that's standing. In fact, the Gemara, how could you say kama is coming to include anything standing, anything that's available, any produce that's there? We use the kama for Gzeir Shabbat to tell you that it's chayiv and chala. So Gemara, nesi chermish. That was before we had the pasuk of chermish, which tells you that skype. Hashel asi chermish is probably called over chermish. Bava gav the loy mechayiv b'chala. It's coming to tell you anything that's a bar chamesh, and even though it's not mechayiv b'chala, kama lomali. So then the kama is not needed for that Gzeir Shabbat. But Rabbis call bali kama. Since we use Chomesh and Harmesh and Kama to teach us this din, what do we need the Kerem anymore? We said we were doing a Tzara Shava from Kerem and Kama, but now we're not using Kerem and Kama. We're learning even a broader din. We're learning from Chermesh and Kama that anything that's standing, and even if it's not Chaya B'chala, Amarava lali chaysa. It's coming to tell you additional halachas. Ketanya. Kitavai nemer kan bia. The nemer halam loy savai. It says biyumay titin scharai loy savai alav hashemesh ki aniyu. It says about a worker. At the end of the day, the sun shouldn't set before you pay him. Ki loy savai alav hashemesh. Malalam b'payil akasim b'davar afkav b'payil akasim b'davar. Just like over there, it's talking about a pile. So to over here, it's talking about a pile. But it's coming to tell you, but not in the kerem of a kusi. That this din that you're not allowed to take and put into your kli, the restriction on this din that a pile is allowed to take for himself is restricted. It doesn't include into the kli. It doesn't include if you're going to if you're working for a kusi. That's only if you hold you're not allowed to steal from a kusi. That it's also to take from him. It's a krola mishri pile. Then we understand why we need a pasuk to matter. Do we have to say that a pile can take if he's allowed to steal outright? So Gemara mukim law the kermeyachav aloy shel hegdish. It's not coming to exclude a kusi, but it's coming to say shel hegdish. That you're not allowed to take, someone who's working for hegdish is not allowed to take. It's saying he can eat, but he can't just squeeze out, he can't just suck out the grape juice and throw away the rest of the grape, because then he's going to end up eating more. Yeah. Sorry. Right. You could take anovim and not anovim. He can't eat it together with something else, because then he'll end up eating more. Kanafshecha, and it says you could eat kanafshecha like your nefesh. Nefesh abalabais kap nafshech shel poil. That man, what does that mean? Man nafshech eichelu potter. Just like the owner can eat, he can take a snack, and he doesn't have to take off the meiser. Am nafshech shel poil eichelu potter. Even though the din is that if the owner were to sell the produce before it was finished processing and became chayiv and meiser, he's allowed to take a snack. But if he sells it, at that point, the person who buys it does have to pay. It does have to separate meises. But we're telling you that this pile who eats it does not have the din of as if he bought it, and it doesn't apply to him. So he can only eat a normal amount, but he can't eat be more than that. Only at the time that, like we said, that you're harvesting, then you can eat from it. But past that point, you can't eat it anymore. Okay, we'll stop over here. It looks likely that tomorrow I'm going to be on Zoom. I'll send around a reminder, but we'll learn, I think, at 6:15, hopefully, and try to continue making up ground.
All right, wonderful. All right.